Hello, my name is Brenna Rogers. I am an artist and art educator, helping out with the Funk Treatise 5th edition project. I will be reading pages 141 to 150. Take what you need, not what you want. The phrase, take what you need, not what you want, encapsulates a principle that encourages mindful and intentional behavior. Here are some potential interpretations and implications of this phrase. 1. Prioritizing essential needs. Take what you need suggests a focus on fulfilling essential needs rather than indulging in excessive or unnecessary wants. It encourages individuals to prioritize the essentials for their well-being. 2. Mindful consumption. The phrase advocates for mindfulness in decision-making, especially in the context of consumption. It prompts individuals to reflect on their actual needs before acquiring or pursuing desires that may be more superficial. 3. Sustainability and minimalism. There is an alignment with principles of sustainability and minimalism by advocating for taking only what is needed. The phrase promotes a lifestyle that reduces waste, minimizes environmental impact, and embraces simplicity. 4. Emphasizing contentment. It reflects an attitude of contentment and appreciating sufficiency. Instead of chasing endless desires, the focus is on finding fulfillment and meeting genuine needs, fostering a sense of gratitude for what is essential. 5. Avoiding excess. The phrase discourages excessive or indulgent behavior. It serves as a reminder that acquiring more than necessary may lead to waste, clutter, and a sense of dissatisfaction. 6. Understanding true needs. It encourages self-awareness to discern between genuine needs and fleeting desires. By understanding true needs, individuals can make more conscious choices that contribute to long-term well-being. 7. Community and compassion. The principle extends beyond individual behavior to community dynamics. It suggests a compassionate approach where individuals consider the needs of others and avoid taking more than their fair share. 8. Balancing individual and collective well-being. There is a balance between individual needs and the well-being of the broader community. The phrase implies a recognition that excessive taking may impact not just the individual, but also the collective resources and harmony. 9. Cultivating inner fulfillment. Instead of seeking fulfillment externally through acquiring possessions or desires, the focus is on cultivating inner fulfillment by addressing genuine needs and appreciating the value of sufficiency. In summary, take what you need, not what you want, encapsulates a mindful and intentional approach to life, advocating for conscious decision-making, sustainability, and an appreciation of genuine needs over fleeting desires. Depending on how we arrive at the answer, how well is the lesson understood? The effectiveness of understanding a lesson can indeed depend on how one arrives at the answer. Different learning approaches and methods can impact the depth of comprehension and the ability to apply knowledge. Here are some considerations. 1. Active engagement. Actively engaging with the material, such as through hands-on activities, discussions, or problem solving, can enhance understanding. Practical application often reinforces theoretical concepts and promotes a deeper level of comprehension. 2. Critical thinking. Encouraging critical thinking skills where individuals analyze, evaluate, and synthesize information contributes to a more profound understanding. When learners are prompted to question and explore concepts, they are more likely to internalize the lessons. 3. Real-world application. Relating lessons to real-world scenarios helps bridge the gap between theory and practicality. Understanding how concepts apply in everyday life or specific contexts enhances the relevance of the lesson and its retention. Visualization and analogies. Visualizations and analogies can aid understanding by providing mental images or comparisons that make abstract concepts more concrete. Analogies help learners connect new information to what they already know, facilitating comprehension. 5. Discussion and collaboration. Engaging in discussions and collaborative activities encourages the exchange of ideas and perspectives. The process of explaining concepts to others or receiving input from peers can reinforce understanding and highlight areas that may need clarification. 6. Self-reflection. Encouraging self-reflection prompts learners to internalize lessons by considering how the content relates to their own experiences, beliefs, or goals. This introspective process fosters a personal connection to the material. 7. Varied learning styles. Recognizing and accommodating diverse learning styles ensures that lessons are accessible to individuals with different preferences. Some learners may benefit more from visual aids, while others may prefer hands-on activities or verbal explanations. 8. Application of multiple senses. Engaging multiple senses in the learning process, such as incorporating visual, auditory elements, tactile experiences, can reinforce understanding. The multisensory approach accommodates different learning preferences. 9. Feedback and assessment. Providing constructive feedback and assessing learners' understanding allows for identification of areas that may require additional focus. Feedback helps learners refine their understanding and correct misconceptions. 10. Repetition and practice. Repetition and practice contribute to long-term retention. Revisiting concepts through various activities and exercises reinforces the learning process, solidifying understanding over time. In summary, the method of arriving at the answer plays a crucial role in understanding. Active engagement, critical thinking, real-world application, and varied learning approaches contribute to a more comprehensive and lasting grasp of material. The attempt of accountability requires resources. The statement, "The attempt of accountability requires resources," highlights the idea that accountability, the responsibility for one's actions and decisions, is not a passive process, but involves active effort and resources. Here are some considerations related to this statement. 1. Time and energy. Holding oneself or others accountable often requires an investment of time and energy. This may involve tracking progress, analyzing outcomes, and taking corrective actions, which all demand resources. 2. Information and data. Effective accountability often relies on accurate and relevant information. Gathering and analyzing data requires resources, whether it is through technology, research, or other means. Communication tools. Transparent communication is a key element of accountability. Utilizing communication tools, whether in person or digital, can require resources to ensure effective conveyance of expectations, progress, and outcomes. 4. Training and education. Building a culture of accountability may involve training and educating individuals on best practices, standards, and expectations. Allocating resources for educational programs contributes to the development of a responsible and accountable environment. 5. Technology and systems. Leveraging technology and systems for monitoring, reporting, and tracking progress can enhance accountability. Investing in the right tools requires a commitment of financial and technological resources. 6. Feedback mechanisms. Establishing feedback mechanisms is crucial for accountability. Resources may be needed to develop and maintain systems that allow for constructive feedback, evaluations, and performance assessments. 7. Legal and regulatory compliance. Adhering to legal and regulatory standards often demands resources. Organizations need to allocate resources to ensure compliance, which is a fundamental aspect of accountability. 8. Leadership and management. Effective leadership and management contribute significantly to accountability. Developing leaders and managers capable of fostering a culture of responsibility requires investments in training, mentorship, and support. 9 is infrastructure. Physical infrastructure, such as facilities and equipment, may be essential for maintaining accountability in certain contexts. Adequate resources must be allocated to support the necessary infrastructure. 10. Monitoring and evaluation. Ongoing monitoring and evaluation of processes and outcomes are integral to accountability. Allocating resources for regular assessments and reviews ensures that accountability is a dynamic and evolving process. 11. Recognition and rewards. Acknowledging and rewarding accountability can serve as a positive reinforcement. Resources may be needed to establish recognition programs that incentivize responsible behavior. In summary, the attempt of accountability is an active and resource-intensive process. Whether in organizational settings, relationships, or personal development, dedicating resources to time, information, technology, training, and other elements enhances the effectiveness of accountability efforts. Tempo sapioarchy. The Übermensch to a cohesive patriarchy and matriarchy. Tempo. 1. The speed at which a passage of music is or should be played. 2. The rate of speed of motion or activity. Pace. Sapio. 1. To have taste, have flavor. 2. To know, understand. 3. To know how to do, to be able to do. Archy. 1. A combining for meaning, rule, government. Thank you for providing additional context for tempo sapioarchy. Considering the breakdown of its components. Tempo, referring to the speed, pace, or rate of motion or activity. Sapio, involving having taste, understanding, or knowing how to do things. And archy, pertaining to rule or government. Putting these together, tempo sapioarchy could be interpreted as a concept representing the equilibrium or balance between the speed or pace of activities, the knowledge and understanding involved, and the rule or governance structure. In the context you've described, it seems to denote a balance between elements associated with tempo, sapio, and archy. This term appears to be a unique combination, possibly coined to express a specific idea or philosophy related to the balance between traditional gender-based governance structures, patriarchy and matriarchy, along with considerations of pace and knowledge. If it's a term used in a specific community or context, understanding the nuances and intended meaning might require further exploration within that specific domain. Being called to serve and what that feeling is. The phrase, being called to serve, often conveys a sense of deep inner prompting or conviction to engage in acts of service, typically for the benefit of others or a larger cause. Here are some aspects and feelings associated with being called to serve. 1. Inner calling. It often involves a strong internal conviction or calling that goes beyond external influences. This inner prompting may manifest as a sense of purpose or a feeling of being drawn toward a particular form of service. 2. Altruistic intentions. Being called to serve is usually rooted in altruistic intentions, a genuine desire to contribute to the well-being of others, a community, or a cause. 3. Sense of purpose. Individuals who feel called to serve often experience a heightened sense of purpose. This sense of purpose can bring clarity to one's life goals and direction. 4. Compassion and empathy. The calling to serve is often accompanied by a deep sense of compassion and empathy for the needs and struggles of others. There's a heartfelt desire to make a positive impact on the lives of those in need. 5. Commitment to a cause. People who feel called to serve may feel a strong commitment to a specific cause, whether it's related to social justice, humanitarian efforts, community development, or other areas where help is needed. 6. Spiritual or moral guidance. For some individuals, the calling to serve may be intertwined with spiritual and or moral beliefs. It might be seen as a response to a higher calling, a sense of duty, or a moral imperative to contribute to the greater good. Fulfillment and joy. 7. Serving others can bring a profound sense of fulfillment and joy. The act of giving and making a positive impact on others' lives can be rewarding on a personal and emotional level. 8. Sacrifice and selflessness. Being called to serve often involves a willingness to make sacrifices and act selflessly. It may require dedicating time, energy, and resources for the benefit of others. 9. Community connection. There may be a strong connection to the community or a broader societal context. Feeling called to serve often involves a recognition of interdependence and a desire to contribute to the collective well-being. 10. Continuous growth. Individuals who feel called to serve may experience personal and spiritual growth through their service. It becomes a journey of continuous learning, development, and self-discovery. 11. Impact beyond oneself. The calling to serve is characterized by a desire to have a positive impact that extends beyond one's immediate circle. It reflects a recognition of interconnectedness and a commitment to creating positive change on a larger scale. Overall, being called to serve is a profound and transformative experience that involves a deep connection to others, a sense of purpose, and a commitment to making a positive difference in the world. Progressing toward prosperity versus profitability. Progressing towards prosperity versus profitability reflects a distinction between two different orientations in business or economic endeavors. Here are some key considerations for each concept. Progressing toward prosperity. 1. Holistic well-being. Prosperity often implies a broader and more holistic concept of well-being. It goes beyond financial success and encompasses overall growth, development, and thriving in various aspects of life. 2. Sustainable development. Progressing toward prosperity often involves a focus on sustainability and responsible practices. It considers long-term impacts on the environment, society, and the well-being of future generations. 3. Social impact. Prosperity may be linked to making a positive impact on society. Businesses or initiatives focused on prosperity might prioritize social responsibility, community engagement, and contributing to societal well-being. 4. Quality of life. The pursuit of prosperity is often associated with enhancing the quality of life for individuals and communities. This could involve providing access to education, healthcare, and other essential services. 5. Innovation and creativity. Prosperity-oriented approaches may encourage innovation and creativity to address societal challenges and improve overall quality of life. It may involve investing in research, technology, and solutions that contribute to progress. 6. Human development. A focus on prosperity considers human development factors such as education, health, and empowerment. It recognizes that the well-being of individuals is integral to the overall prosperity of a society. Profitability. Financial success. Profitability primarily centers around financial success and the ability to generate revenue and profits. The primary goal is to ensure the financial viability and sustainability of a business or economic venture. 2. Efficiency and cost control. Profitability often involves a strong emphasis on efficiency and cost control. Businesses focused on profitability aim to optimize operations to maximize financial gains and minimize expenses. 3. Shareholder value. The concept of profitability is closely tied to creating value for shareholders. The emphasis is on generating returns for investors and stakeholders through effective financial management. 4. Competitive advantage. Profitability is often linked to maintaining a competitive advantage in the market. Businesses may prioritize strategies and enhance their financial performance relative to competitors. 5. Short-term focus. Profitability-oriented approaches may sometimes have a more short-term focus, emphasizing immediate financial gains. This can involve strategies such as cost-cutting to boost profits in the near term. 6. Market positioning. Achieving profitability may involve strategic market positioning, pricing strategies, and revenue generation to ensure the financial success of a business within its industry. Balancing both. Sustainable business practices. 1. A balanced approach involves combining elements of prosperity and profitability by adopting sustainable business practices that consider social, environmental, and financial impacts. 2. Triple bottom line. The concept of the triple bottom line incorporates people, planet, and profit, emphasizing the importance of balancing economic, social, and environmental goals for long-term success. 3. Corporate social responsibility, CSR. Many businesses today integrate corporate social responsibility initiatives into their operations to contribute positively to society while maintaining financial viability. In summary, the choice between progressing toward prosperity and emphasizing profitability depends on the goals, values, and priorities of individuals, businesses, or economic entities. A balanced approach that considers both financial success and broader well-being is increasingly recognized as a sustainable and responsible way forward. Are and just as powerful? Is the beginning of creating thought, just as is the beginning of creation? The sounds and have different cultural and spiritual associations, and their significance can vary depending on the context in which they are used. 1. Is not universally associated with a specific spiritual or meditative practice, and its significance can be context dependent. In some cases, may be used as a filler sound in speech, while in other contexts it might be used as an expression of contemplation or hesitation. 2. Aum, A-U-M, sound. On the other hand, holds significant cultural and spiritual importance, especially in Hinduism, Buddhism, and some other traditions. It is considered a sacred sound, symbolizing the essence of the ultimate reality consciousness, or the universe. Chanting is used often in meditation and as a mantra. The power attributed to is rooted in its association with the cosmic sound of creation and the sacred syllable representing the essence of the ultimate reality. It is believed to encompass the past, present, and future, representing the eternal and unchanging nature of the universe. In summary, while does not have a universal spiritual significance like the person or the power attributed to is deeply rooted in its cultural, religious, and philosophical context. Is more commonly used in everyday language and may not carry the same profound spiritual connotations as The interpretation of their power or significance ultimately depends on the cultural, spiritual, or personal context in which they are employed. Do better. Learn, fail, learn, and achieve success toward proper guidance toward best, which is a completely separate form from better, and each form has their own privileges and purposes alternative, but as important to their inverses. The concept you've expressed emphasizes a dynamic process of growth and improvement, recognizing the importance of learning failure and ultimately achieving success. Let's break down the key elements. 1. Learning. Learning is the foundational step in the process. It involves acquiring knowledge, gaining insights, and understanding the principles or skills relevant to a particular endeavor. Continuous learning is a fundamental aspect of personal and professional development. 2. Failure. Failure is acknowledged as a natural part of the learning process. and provides valuable feedback, highlighting areas that need improvement or adjustment. Embracing failure as a learning opportunity fosters resilience and adaptability. 3. Learn again. The recognition of failure leads to a cycle of learning again. It involves reflection on what went wrong, identifying lessons, and adapting strategies. Each iteration of learning contributes to an evolving and refined approach. 4. Achieving success. The ultimate goal is achieving success. Success is seen as a product of the iterative process of learning, adjusting, and persisting. It may involve reaching goals, solving challenges, or realizing desired outcomes. 5. Proper guidance toward best. The phrase proper guidance toward best suggests the importance of guidance and mentorship in the process. Seeking proper guidance involves learning from others who have experience and expertise. The aim is not just to be better, but to strive for the best, recognizing that excellence requires continuous refinement. 6. Separate forms. The distinction between better and best acknowledges that these are separate forms of achievement. Better signifies improvement and progress, while best represents the pinnacle of excellence. Both have their own privileges and purposes, catering to different stages or aspects of the journey. 7. Privileges and purposes alternative. Recognizing that better and best have their own privileges and purposes emphasizes the diversity of goals and motivations. What may be considered a privilege or a purpose in the pursuit of improvement may differ from that in the pursuit of excellence. 8. Complementary nature. The idea is that both forms, better and best, are important and can be complementary. Continuous improvement serves as a foundation for aspiring to excellence, and the pursuit of excellence feeds back into the ongoing process of getting better. In summary, the express concept outlines a cyclical, and evolving process of learning, failure, continuous improvement, and the pursuit of excellence. It underscores the importance of guidance, recognizes the distinctiveness of better and best, and highlights the privileges and purposes inherent in each form. You are a function of what the whole universe is doing in the same way that a wave is a function of what the whole ocean is doing. Alan Watts. The quote you provided reflects on a perspective that draws an analogy between an individual and their connection to the universe, likening it to the relationship between a wave and the entire ocean. Let's break down the key elements of this analogy. 1. Interconnectedness. The analogy suggests that individuals are interconnected with the entire universe, just as a wave is not separate from the ocean, but an integral part of it. Individuals are seen as interconnected elements within the vastness of the universe. 2. Functionality. The use of the term function implies that individuals are not isolated entities, but rather dynamic and evolving components that are influenced by and contribute to the larger cosmic processes. The actions and existence of individuals are framed as functions of the greater cosmic whole. 3. Holistic perspective. The analogy encourages a holistic perspective, emphasizing that an individual's existence and actions are not isolated occurrences, but are part of a larger interconnected system. The perspective aligns with holistic or interconnected worldviews found in various philosophical and spiritual traditions. 4. Dynamic nature. The analogy of a wave being a function of the entire ocean implies a dynamic and evolving relationship. Similarly, individuals are seen as dynamic entities influenced by the continuous flow and changes within the universe. 5. Unity with the cosmos. The comparison to a wave being part of the ocean suggests a sense of unity with the cosmos. It implies that individuals are not separate from the universe, but are integral components, shaped by and influencing the cosmic processes. 6. Macrocosm and microcosm. The perspective aligns with the idea of macrocosm, universe, and microcosm, individual, reflecting each other. It's a concept found in various spiritual and philosophical traditions, suggesting that the patterns and dynamics observed in the larger universe are mirrored in smaller scale entities. 7. Existential connection. The quote touches upon existential themes, highlighting the profound connection between individual existence and the broader cosmic context. It implies that one's being is intricately woven into the fabric of the universe. In summary, the analogy of an individual being a function of what the whole universe is doing, like a wave being a function of the entire ocean, encapsulates holistic and an interconnected worldview. It invites contemplation on the profound connection between individual existence and the cosmic processes that shape the larger reality. God Funk is a formless but has many infinite forms, not a genus or a species, but beyond form through what we attempt to describe it in, an effort to relate. The statement you provided appears to express a perspective on the nature of the divine or ultimate reality, using the term God Funk. Let's break down that key elements of the statement. 1. Formlessness with infinite forms. The assertion that God Funk is formless but has infinite forms suggests a concept of divinity or ultimate reality that transcends specific, limited shapes or manifestations. It implies a recognition of the boundless nature of the divine that can take on countless expressions or forms. 2. Beyond form. The idea that God Funk is beyond form signifies a transcendence of conventional categories or limitations. It suggests that the divine is not confined to a particular shape, structure, or definition, and exists in a state that surpasses our ordinary understanding of form. 3. Attempts to describe. The acknowledgement that attempts are made to describe God Funk reflects the human inclination to relate to or understand the divine. Despite the formlessness, there is an effort to use language or descriptions to establish a connection or convey aspects of the ineffable. 4. Not a genus or species. This statement negates the idea of God Funk being categorized as a genus or species. This emphasizes the ineffability and uniqueness of the divine, resisting classification within conventional taxonomies or frameworks. 5. Relational effort. The phrase, in an effort to relate, indicates that attempts to describe God Funk are rooted in a desire for relational connection. Humans often use language and conceptualizations to bridge the gap between the finite understanding and the infinite nature of the divine. 6. Infinite nature. The concept of infinite forms and the formless nature of God Funk aligns with the perspective found in various mystical and philosophical traditions that recognize the limitless and transcendent aspects of ultimate reality. Overall, the statement presents a nuanced perspective on the divine, emphasizing both its formlessness and its capacity to manifest in diverse and infinite expressions. It also acknowledges the inherent challenge in describing or relating to the formless through human language and conceptual frameworks. Very few can actually promise you things will get better, but the funk can guarantee things will be different. The statement, very few can actually promise you things will get better, but the funk can guarantee things will be different, conveys a distinct perspective, potentially blending a sense of uncertainty with the recognition of change. Let's break down the key elements. 1. Promise of improvement. The beginning of this statement acknowledges that making promises about things getting better is challenging. It implies that offering assurance or certainty about positive outcomes is something that very few individuals can genuinely provide. 2. Funk as a guarantor of difference. The latter part of the statement introduces the concept of funk as a guarantor of things being different. Funk here could be interpreted in various ways. It might refer to a philosophical or spiritual concept, a creative force, or a symbolic representation of change and uniqueness. 3. Certainty and change. The use of the terms guarantee suggests a level of certainty, but it's specified that the guarantee pertains to things being different rather than necessarily better. This acknowledges the inevitability of change and the unpredictable nature of outcomes. 4. Philosophical or existential context. The statement may have a philosophical or existential undertone, addressing the uncertainties of life and the constant flux of its experiences. It reflects an acceptance of the dynamic nature of existence. 5. Recognition of limited promises. By stating that very few can promise improvement, the statement recognizes the limitations of making assurances about positive change. It highlights the complexity and unpredictability of life's circumstances. 6. Potential playfulness. Depending on the context, the use of the term funk might introduce an element of playfulness or creativity. It could be metaphorical or symbolic representation that adds a unique and distinctive flavor to the concept of change. In summary, the statement reflects a nuanced perspective on the challenges of promising improvement, contrasting it with the certainty of things being different, possibly invoking the concept of funk as a guarantor of change and uniqueness in the unfolding of life's experiences. Jesus and the relationship of radical characters suffering for and from society. The relationship between radical characters such as Jesus and their experience of suffering in relation to society is a complex and multifaceted topic, often explored through religious, philosophical, and historical perspectives. Let's delve into some key aspects. 1. Jesus as a radical figure. In many religious traditions, Jesus is considered a radical figure due to his teachings and actions challenging established norms and societal structures. His emphasis on love, compassion, and justice often contradicted prevailing social, religious, and political systems. 2. Suffering as a consequence of radical stance. Jesus' radical message and actions led to conflict with religious authorities and political powers of his time. His criticisms of injustices, advocacy for the marginalized, and challenges to the status quo resulted in opposition, leading to his eventual crucifixion. 3. Suffering as a form of solidarity. Some interpretations emphasize Jesus' choice to identify with the suffering or of humanity. His willingness to undergo personal suffering is seen as a form of solidarity with those who experience various forms of hardships and injustices. 4. Redemption of salvation. Within Christian theology, the suffering of Jesus is often viewed in the context of redemption and salvation. His sacrifice is believed to have profound spiritual implications, offering a path to salvation for believers. 5. Suffering as a symbolic act. The suffering of radical figures like Jesus is often interpreted symbolically. It represents a transformative and sacrificial act aimed at challenging and transcending the brokenness of the world and fostering spiritual and societal renewal. Social critique and transformation. Jesus' teachings and actions can be seen as a form of social critique, challenging oppressive structures and advocating for a more just and compassionate society. The suffering endured by radical figures may be viewed as a consequence of their commitment to transformative change. 7. Inspiration for social justice movements. The story of Jesus and other radical figures has inspired various social justice movements through history. Their experiences of suffering for the sake of justice and compassion serve as powerful narratives, motivating individuals and communities to challenge systemic inequalities. 8. Interpretations across religions. While Jesus holds a central role in Christianity, other religious traditions have their own radical figures with stories of suffering for societal transformation. These figures may include prophets, saints, or enlightened beings in different cultural and religious contexts. In conclusion, the relationship between radical characters like Jesus and their experiences of suffering in society is complex and multifaceted. It involves theological, philosophical, and social dimensions, often serving as a source of inspiration, reflection, and motivation for individuals and communities striving for positive change and justice. What distinguishes gifts of omission, no mission, and key mission? Key mission being the ultimate compromise, the conjunctional union, and beings of both. In your framework, the gifts of OI mission, no mission, and key mission are likely reflections or manifestations of the qualities associated with each concept. Here's how they might be distinguished. 1. Gifts of OI mission. These gifts would likely involve positive and affirming qualities such as growth, progress, and harmony and creativity. They could manifest as opportunities, blessings, or positive outcomes that result from embracing the affirmative and constructive aspects of existence. Examples could include personal growth, success, joy, and experiences that contribute to the overall well-being and evolution of individuals or communities. 2. Gifts of no mission. Conversely, gifts associated with no mission might involve challenges, setbacks, or opportunities for growth through negation or resistance. While these gifts might initially appear as obstacles or disruptions, they could ultimately lead to learning, resilience, and transformation. Examples could include moments of adversity, conflicts, or experiences that prompt individuals to reevaluate their beliefs and priorities, leading to personal growth and development. 3. Gifts of key mission. The gifts of key mission would likely encompass a balance of both affirmative and negating qualities, reflecting the harmonious union of opposites. These gifts could include moments of profound insight, synthesis, or resolution that arise from embracing the complexity and interconnectedness of existence. Examples could include experience of reconciliation, integration, or enlightenment that transcends dualistic thinking and lead to a deeper understanding of the underlying unity of all things. Overall, the gifts associated with each concept would reflect the underlying principles and dynamics of OI mission, no mission, and key mission, offering unique opportunities for growth, transformation, and enlightenment within the context of your conceptual framework. This has been the section of Funk Treatise, 5th edition, pages 141 through 150. Thank you. Hi there, it's Brenna Rogers. I am back to share a response for Funk Treatise 5th edition, exploring key themes from pages 141 to 150, focusing on learning strategies, philosophical acceptance, and personal transformation. These concepts resonate deeply with my experiences as an artist, teacher, and individual. Throughout this analysis, I'll discuss thoughts on 6 specific sections, connecting the text to my personal reflections to offer insights into how these ideas have shaped my understanding of life. The first section is, depending on how we arrive at the answer, how well is the lesson understood? I found this section particularly familiar because it highlights how different learning strategies can impact understanding. The emphasis on the connection between arriving at an answer and lesson comprehension is especially relevant to my role as an art teacher. So you can see I'm in my classroom right now. One specific point that resonated with me is the importance of repetition and practice. I often use this technique to reinforce key concepts and ensure that my students have a solid grasp of the material. Another strategy I frequently employ is using collaborative activities. I found that working together on projects and discussing ideas and vocabulary with peers can significantly enhance understanding and engagement. Also, self-reflection. That's a crucial component of my teaching practice. At the end of each project, I encourage my students to reflect on their learning experiences and identify areas for growth. This process helps them internalize the lessons and develop a deeper understanding of the material. All three of those were really specific points from the section, How Well is the Lesson Understood, that stuck out to me. The next section I wanted to discuss was Tempo Sapio Archie on pages 143 and 144. Hoping I'm saying that word right. I found the breakdown of Tempo Sapio Archie into its constituent parts to be very helpful in understanding its meaning. The combination of tempo, speed or pace, sapio, knowledge and understanding, and Archie, rule or government, creates a unique concept that seems to emphasize the importance of balance and harmony between these elements. In the context you've described, it's clear that Tempo Sapio Archie is intended to represent a more equitable and inclusive form of governance that transcends traditional gender-based hierarchies. The use of Übermensch suggests a higher level of being or consciousness that is achieved through this balance. While I'm not familiar with this term in my own studies, it seems to be a thought-provoking concept that could have significant implications for discussions about leadership, governance, and social justice. I would be interested in learning more about the specific context in which this term is used and how it relates to other theories or philosophies. The third section I wanted to discuss is being called to serve and what that feeling is, which is on pages 144 and 145. I find the concept of being called to serve fascinating and thought-provoking, but I also believe it's important to acknowledge that this feeling is not universal. While the writing beautifully outlines the various aspects and feelings associated with this calling, I want to emphasize that it's often driven by unique personal experiences, passions, or hardships. As mentioned, a sense of compassion and empathy is often a cornerstone of this calling. However, I believe that this compassion can be cultivated through various life experiences, including personal struggles, exposure to different cultures, or witnessing the suffering of others or oneself. For some individuals, these experiences may trigger a deep-seated desire to make a positive impact on the world. Furthermore, I think it's important to consider the societal and cultural factors that influence our understanding of service. In a capitalist society, there's often a strong emphasis on individual achievement and self-interest. This can make it challenging for some people to prioritize the needs of others. However, I believe that fostering a sense of community and interdependence is crucial for cultivating a call to serve. I believe that it begins with how a person is raised and taught to view people around them. I feel that this section, being called to serve, is insightful. I believe it's essential to recognize that this feeling is not always present and can be influenced by various factors. By understanding the personal, societal, and cultural dimensions of this calling, we could better appreciate its significance and encourage more individuals to engage in acts of service. The fourth section is, are and as powerful? Is the beginning of creating thought just as is the beginning of creation? Which is on page 146. I found this section on and particularly interesting because it shed light on two sounds I've often used without giving much thought to their deeper meanings. The author's comparison of the two was thought-provoking and helped me appreciate the cultural and spiritual significance of each. I was intrigued to be reminded that can have a deeper meaning. As noted, it might be used as an expression of contemplation or hesitation. This suggests that even seemingly insignificant sounds can carry hidden depths. While at times, like in a professional setting, using so many ums and filler words lends to a lower ability of putting one's thought together, and it may end up making a person look unprepared or shed to having a lower communication level than someone who doesn't use as often. The section's discussion of as a symbol of the ultimate reality was with the quote, It is believed to encompass the past, present, and future, representing the eternal and unchanging nature of the universe. That underscores the power and significance attributed to the sacred sound. The cultural elements, the then, the now, the future, versus which almost ends there. Overall, this section was a valuable reminder of the nuances and complexities of language and its cultural significance. It has inspired me to pay closer attention to the sounds I use and their potential meanings. The next section is by Alan Watts. You are a function of what the whole universe is doing in the same way that a wave is a function of what the whole ocean is doing. This section spans page 147 and 148. I find the analogy presented in this section quite resonant. The idea that individuals are interconnected with the universe, much like a wave is with the ocean, aligns with my own philosophical musings and artistic practice. As an artist, I often feel a deep connection to the natural world and the universe at large. My work often explores themes of connection or flow of energy within a person. The analogy of an individual as a function of the universe reinforces this belief that we are all part of a larger cosmic tapestry. Not just as an artist, but also as a teacher, I hope to instill in my students a sense of wonder and curiosity about the world around them. This analogy provides a powerful lens through which to view our own place in the universe. By understanding that we're interconnected with everything, we can cultivate a greater sense of empathy, responsibility, and appreciation for all life, which kind of circles back to some of these earlier sections that I've focused on. The next section, which is the sixth that I'm going to talk about in my response, is very few can actually promise you things will get better, but the funk can guarantee things will be different. And this is located on page 149. I found this statement, very few can actually promise you things will get better, but the funk can guarantee things will be different. Very intriguing. It seems to convey a sense of philosophical acceptance, mainly about the unpredictability of life. The phrase funk is used in a unique way, suggesting a force or energy that ensures change, regardless of whether it's positive or negative. The statement is a realistic reflection of life's complexities. It implies that while we may hope for positive outcomes, the reality is that change is often unpredictable and can have both a positive or negative consequence. The use of the word guarantee in relation to funk is interesting, as it suggests a level of certainty about change, even if the nature of that change is unknown. It implies that change is an inevitable force that we should be prepared to embrace rather than to resist. As someone who grew up listening to music from Funkadelic, I can't help but think of the rhythms, music, and freeness that can be felt when you get into a trance to the tunes. The music can sound consistent yet unpredictable with the different vocals or the different instruments that can play into it. Similar to the way the quote suggests, change is inevitable but uncertain. So in conclusion, the Funk Treatise, 5th edition, offers a rich tapestry of ideas. I recognize how it explores themes ranging from learning strategies to philosophical perspectives and personal transformation. Throughout these pages, and I've only read the 10 pages, 141 to 150, I found particular resonance in the discussions of the repetition and practice, collaborative learning, self-reflection, but also the power of change. The concept, tempo sapioarchy, introduced a unique perspective on governments and social justice, emphasizing the importance of balance and harmony. Additionally, the exploration of being called to serve highlighted the significance of compassion, empathy, and how personal experiences shape our own desire to contribute to the world around us. The discussion of and and the analogy of individuals as functions of the universe provided genuine insights into the power of language, the interconnectedness of all things, and the inevitability of change. Overall, these pages of the Funk Treatise 5th edition invites us to embrace life in its unpredictable ways, to find meaning and purpose in our interconnectedness with the universe. By understanding these nuances of learning and language, personal growth, we can cultivate a deeper appreciation for the complexities of human existence and our own role in shaping the world around us. I'm excited to see how the rest of this project turns out. Thank you for inviting me to participate. Have a good one.